She suffered to raise her stepchildren, but years later they betrayed her. Inside a modest compound in Enugu village, neighbors gathered in preparation for a traditional marriage. The marriage ceremony of Chinelo, the daughter of the late Mazi Kalu, a man remembered for his uprightness even though he died poor. Chinelo was naturally beautiful and humble. Fair caramel skin that glowed even without makeup, eyes deep with kindness, and a smile that calmed storms. She carried the dignity of her late father like a crown, even though poverty had tried to bow her head. When Chief Benko arrived with his kinsman, the village women gathered to gossip. Chief Benko is wealthy, yet he chooses to marry from this poor family, one woman whispered. Another replied, don't you know? His first wife died some years ago, leaving him with 3 children. Maybe he needs someone with a soft heart, not just money. Indeed, Chief Benko was a man of means. A big palm oil producer in Enugu city. Owner of trucks and warehouses. He was popularly known in the city as Benko the Lion, employer of labor, who cared so much for his community. But he was also a man who carried deep scars. His late wife, Neka, had been the love of his life, his pride and his balance. Her sudden death after childbirth left him broken, leaving behind little children for him to take care of alone. Despite his wealth, influence and multiple domestic staff, it was a difficult feat to raise the kids without a mother. That day, when Chinelo's family accepted his proposal, the sun seemed to shine brighter. Not because of the wealth on display, but because of the hope that this union carried. Inside Chief Benko's mansion in Enugu city buzzed with life when Chinelo stepped in as the new wife. Marble tiles, glass windows, and large photographs of Neka, the late wife, hung on the walls. At first, the 3 children, Nkechi, Chucks, and Ifunanya, watched her with suspicion as she stood with Chief Benko smiling. Nkechi, the eldest, only 13, frowned. When she saw her father holding Chinelo's hand. Papa, will she sleep in Mama's room? She asked bluntly. Chief Benko smiled faintly. Nkechi, your mother is irreplaceable. But we need someone to help raise you and your siblings. Chinelo will not take your mother's place. She will only help me care for you. Chinelo, on hearing Nkechi, moved close to her. Her voice trembled, but her eyes were firm. My child, I may not have given birth to you, but I promise you one thing. I will love you as my own blood. I will never treat you differently. Call me Mummy Chinelo if you want, but in my heart, you are mine already. The youngest, little Ifunanya, ran into her arms immediately. Mummy Chinelo, will you be taking me to school? Chinelo's face covered with smile. Yes, my daughter. I will take you to school daily. From that day, she cooked their meals with a smile, washed their clothes and school uniforms, prayed with them, and treated them equally. When Chinedu, her own son, was born 2 years later, she shocked everyone by not changing her love. She took care of all the children the same way, fed them the same meals, and disciplined them with the same hand. Even Chief Benko marveled one night as they sat in the room. Chinelo, you are a rare woman. Even I cannot love these children the way you do. Sometimes, I think you are too good for this world. She smiled softly. My husband, a child is a child. Whether from my womb or another woman's, love is what makes them grow. But tongues wagged. Neighbors whispered. Have you ever seen such? A stepmother who places her stepchildren above her own child? That woman must be using something to blind Chief Benko. Others argued. No. I think she is just too good. Maybe God sent her as an angel to those children. Whatever the case, the family grew in love. Until the day destiny tested them, and the cracks of betrayal began to form. The mansion that once echoed with laughter and the sound of clinking glasses grew quiet like a graveyard. Chief Benko's fortunes, like a tree struck by lightning, began to wither. One by one, his trucks broke down. A fire accident in the main warehouse took away his goods. Suddenly, Chief Benko, the man known as Benko the Lion in Enugu, found himself cornered by debts. He sold some of his assets and the extra cars. The mansion remained, but its walls now heard sighs instead of laughter. One evening, Chief called all the children to the sitting room. His face looked worn, his once broad shoulders slouched like a man carrying the world. "My children," he began, voice trembling, "times have changed. I had planned to send all of you to university, but the truth is, I cannot afford it anymore." Nkechi gasped. "Papa, but you promised me. You said I will study law." Chucks argued. "Papa, you can't do this to me. I want to be an engineer." Chief lowered his head. "I am sorry, my children. Nkechi, Chucks, instead of wasting years at home, I will send you to learn trade. You will have shops of your own. Education is good, but business will give you money quickly. We must be realistic." Silence filled the room. The children's faces fell. It was then Chinelo, who had been sitting quietly with her baby, spoke. "My husband, forgive me, but I disagree." Chief frowned. "What do you mean, Chinelo?" She continued, her voice steady but filled with fire. "These children have dreams. They have brains. If you stop their schooling now, you will destroy their future. Chucks wants to be an engineer. Nkechi dreams of law. If we kill these dreams, what will be left of them? Learning trade is good, but it is not their calling. Woman, do you know what you are saying? Where will the money come from? Should I sell my blood to pay school fees?" Chief Benko questioned. "My husband, remember I have a small shop. I make little money, but I promise you every cent I make, I will add it to keep them in school. Even if I have to go to bed hungry, I will not allow these children to be denied education." The children stared at her, speechless. A stepmother, willing to spend her own sweat on them? Chief shook his head. "Most women in your place would say, leave them, train only my own child. But you, why do you choose suffering for yourself?" "Because they are my children too. And because one day, when we are gone, these children will remember not how much we had, but how much we loved them." Chinelo responded. Nkechi said nothing. She only bit her lip and looked at her father. Chucks muttered under his breath. "Maybe she just wants to look like a saint before people." But Ifunanya, the youngest, jumped up and hugged Chinelo. "Mummy Chinelo, I will never forget this. You are the best mother in the world. My daughter, education is light. No one will take that light from you," Chinelo said. Soon the story spread across town. People shook their heads. "Have you heard? Chief Benko's second wife is using her little shop money to send his first children to school. What kind of woman does that?" Another replied, "Maybe she is hiding her plans. Don't trust stepmothers. They always have another agenda." Few years later, life slowly began to change. Nkechi, now very beautiful young woman, gained admission to study law in the university. Chucks, a handsome young man, was admitted for engineering. Ifunanya, who loved business, chose to learn tailoring instead, and Chinelo supported them all. Chief often sat at night staring at his wife in disbelief. "Chinelo, you are more than a wife. You are my backbone. Without you, I would have crumbled." She would smile gently. "Do not thank me, my husband. Thank God who gave us life and strength. One day, these children will rise and wipe away our tears." And indeed, they began to rise, but not in the way Chinelo expected. For in the shadows of gratitude, betrayal was taking root. Years rolled by like a river. The children blossomed under Chinelo's care. Nkechi was now a graduate of law, working in a reputable firm in Lagos. Chucks was rounding up his final year in engineering, while Ifunanya had grown into a fine young woman, working as a fashion designer. To outsiders, the family looked perfect. A stepmother who raised children that were not her own, a household bonded by love, a man who still held his home together despite financial setbacks. But behind that picture, shadows began to creep. Nkechi returned home one weekend. She was dressed in a sharp black suit, her hair in an expensive weave. Her confidence filled the living room as she called her siblings together. Nkechi faced Chucks and Ifunanya. "My dear brother and sister, we need to open our eyes. This house is no longer the same. Since that woman, Chinelo, entered, have you noticed how Papa's business crumbled? Trucks failed, warehouses burned, money vanished. Is it ordinary?" Chucks shifted uneasily. "Sister, You can't just say that. She's the one paying our school fees from her small shop. Without her, I wouldn't even be in the university. Nkechi's lips curled into a sneer. Don't be a child, Chucks. That's exactly how she bewitched Papa to look like an angel while destroying him slowly. Think. Do you know how many men fall into the hands of such women? Their true aim is always the same, to push their own children forward and bury the rest. Ifunanya frowned. But Mummy Chinelo treats us well. Even when she had her son, she didn't love us less. You are too young to understand. Can't you see? She is grooming Chinedu to take over Papa's properties. Why else does she act so holy? Don't be deceived. I've noticed Papa listens to her more than to us these days. Maybe she has plans, Chucks suggested. Ifunanya shook her head violently and stood up, confronting Nkechi. No. You both are wrong. Mummy Chinelo is the only reason we are educated. Do you remember how she fought Papa when he wanted us to stop school? She carried our burdens. She even supports me in my business. How can you accuse her? Nkechi stepped closer to Ifunanya, her voice like poison. Ifunanya, don't let your foolish heart blind you. Mark my words, if we don't act, one day we will be beggars in our father's house, and Chinedu will be the prince. That boy must never inherit what belongs to us. God forbid. Sister Nkechi, you are wrong. If Mama were alive, she would never want us to repay kindness with wickedness, Ifunanya said. But Chucks, silent on his seat until now, muttered, maybe sister is right. Maybe we should watch that woman closely. From that day, a line was drawn in the family. Nkechi and Chucks began to whisper together, their hearts poisoned with suspicion. Ifunanya, however, avoided them and clung even more to Chinelo, determined to protect the woman who had shown her nothing but love. She was always within her room chatting and laughing to her jokes. One night, she said to Chief Benko, "My husband, something is wrong. Nkechi and Chucks have changed toward me. They barely speak to me anymore." Chief sighed. "Do not worry, my dear. Children grow and change. Maybe it's the influence of city life. With time, they will understand your heart." But Chinelo's spirit felt troubled. She could sense that a storm was gathering, though she did not know how fierce it would be. And soon, tragedy struck, and the storm broke. Chief Benko, once the lion of Inugu City, lay on his bed sick. His body had grown frail, his eyes sunken, and his breath shallow. Chinelo sat by his side, fanning him gently with a raffia hand fan. The next day his condition became worse and she whispered softly, "My husband, please eat something. Even if it's just a spoon of pap, to give you strength. We have to take you to the hospital immediately." Chief shook his head weakly. "My heart is failing, Chinelo. There is no need for that. The wealth I thought would last, it has disappeared like smoke. But one thing I regret not is marrying you. You have been more than a wife. You stood when others would have run. If I leave this world now, promise me you will not abandon the children." Chinelo broke into sobs. "Do not speak like this. You will not die. God will restore you. The children need you. I need you too." Just then, the door opened and Nkechi, Chucks, and Ifunanya walked in. "Papa," Nkechi said stiffly, "why not call the elders and read your will now before things get worse? We don't want confusion after." "Sister Nkechi," Ifunanya, who was sitting on the couch, shouted, "Papa is still alive. How can you talk of will while he's still breathing?" Chucks snapped back at her. "Keep quiet, small girl. You know nothing about life. A man must settle his house before death comes." Chinelo turned to them sharply. "Your father is not dead. Show some respect." But Chief only sighed, shaking his head weakly. "If God wills, I will speak with the elders tomorrow." But tomorrow never came. That night, Chief Benko breathed his last. His final words were whispered to Chinelo. "Protect them, even if they hate you. God will reward you." And then silence. The lion had fallen. On the burial day, mourners filled the graveyard to pay their last respect to the man who had once lifted many. But amidst the tears, poison began to spread. During the family meeting with the elders, after Chief's burial, Nkechi rose with boldness and gazed straight at Chinelo. My father would not have died like this if not for this woman. Ever since she entered this house, his fortunes collapsed. Now she has killed him, so her son will inherit everything. She is a witch. Gasps filled the air. Chucks supported her immediately. It is true. She bewitched Papa. She used her so-called kindness to cover her wickedness. Papa's death is on her head. Chinelo dropped to her knees, tears streaming down her face. God forbid. I loved your father with all my heart. I cared for you as my own. How can you accuse me of this evil? Ifunanya sprang to her defense, her voice trembling but firm. Elders, do not listen to them. You all know how our stepmother suffered for us. When Papa wanted to stop our schooling, it was Mummy Chinelo who fought for us. How could she now kill him? This is a lie. But the elders looked at the so-called evidence Nkechi and Chucks had cunningly arranged, false witnesses, twisted stories, whispers of neighbors who envied Chinelo's goodness. The verdict was passed. Chinelo was banished from the family house. She and her little boy, Chinedu, were cast out with nothing but a few clothes. Chinelo took her son and walked away from the mansion that had once been her home. Her heart was heavy, her feet trembling, but her spirit prayed silently. Lord, you see my tears. You know my innocence. Fight for me. Behind her, Ifunanya ran, carrying a small bag. Mummy Chinelo, wait. I will not stay these wicked people. I am coming with you. Chinelo turned, shocked. No, my daughter, return to your siblings. This burden is too much for you. But Ifunanya shook her head fiercely. No. I will never stay in that house with people who hate you. You are my mother, and I will follow you anywhere. Chinelo embraced her tightly with tears on her face. Together, three of them stepped into uncertainty of the streets, leaving behind wealth, comfort, and family ties. In the mansion, Nkechi and Chucks celebrated with pride. At last, Nkechi said with a wicked smile, the witch is gone. Now we can enjoy our inheritance without fear. But little did they know, they had cast away the very light of their destiny. For as the old people say, he who bites the finger that fed him will one day eat from the dust of shame. That night in a small, one-room apartment, a lantern flickered weakly, casting long shadows against the wall. Chinelo sat on a raffia mat with little Chinedu asleep beside her. Ifunanya, too, sat on the mat. But her eyes were wide open, staring at her stepmother as sleep refused to come. She whispered, Mummy Chinelo, are you crying? Chinelo quickly wiped her face and forced a calm face. No, my daughter. I was only praying in my heart. But Ifunanya could hear the heaviness in her voice. Please, don't cry. You are not a bad person. You are not alone. I am here, and I will never leave you. Every night Chinelo will look at Ifunanya with concern. You are too young to carry this kind of burden, Ifunanya. You should be in that big house, enjoying the fruits of your father's labor, not here suffering with me. But Ifunanya shook her head stubbornly. What kind of enjoyment is it, when my brother and sister are living in wickedness? I would rather suffer with a woman who loves me than feast with those who hate me. At those words, Chinelo broke down completely, pulling Ifunanya into her arms. God bless you, my daughter. The Lord who sees in secret will reward you openly. Your kindness will not go unrewarded. Life in the one-room apartment was hard. Gone were the marble tiles and air conditioners of the mansion. Here, rats scurried across the floor at night. But still, peace lived there. Every morning, Chinelo would wake before dawn and head to her small provisions shop. Ifunanya followed her, helping to arrange goods and write down sales. Some days, sales were good. Other days, they barely made enough. Yet Chinelo always found a way to put food on the table. Children, she would say as they gathered at night, never despise small beginnings. The God who gives little is the same God who multiplies it into abundance. And they would all say Amen. Meanwhile, across town, Nkechi and Chucks were living like kings. They took over the mansion. They resorted to selling their late father's lands and properties, and money flowed like water. Parties filled the family mansion almost every weekend. Music blasted from loudspeakers. Young men and women came to eat, drink, and dance. Neighbors shook their heads and whispered, "Can you see? These children are selling off everything their father labored for. Soon, nothing will remain." Others added, "Ah, they drove away the woman who held that house together. Now see how recklessly they live." But Nkechi and Chucks cared little. They were intoxicated with temporary wealth. One night, during a party, Chucks boasted loudly, "This life is sweet. Who needs employment when you can sell one property and make millions?" That so-called saint of a stepmother thought she could deceive us, but see who is enjoying now. Nkechi laughed, holding her wine glass. "We are the true heirs of this house." Yet unknown to them, their riches were like water in a leaking basket. The more they spent, the faster it vanished. Back in the one-room home, Ifunanya would say, "Mummy Chinelo, we cannot keep quiet. Sister Nkechi and Chucks are wasting everything Papa left behind. We must tell the elders to stop them before nothing remains." But Chinelo would shake her head gently. "Leave them, my daughter. Let them enjoy as they wish. One day, their eyes will open. For now, let us focus on building our own future." "But it is not fair," Ifunanya would protest. "They cast you out unjustly, and now they are wasting what you helped preserve." Chinelo would only smile faintly. "Ifunanya, life is like a farm. Some people sow yam, others sow cassava. At harvest, everyone will reap what they planted. Let us not envy them. Your own harvest will be greater." Those words stayed with Ifunanya like fire in her bones. She made a vow silently, "One day, I will rise. And when I do, I will wipe away these tears from Mummy Chinelo's eyes." One evening, Chinelo knelt with Ifunanya and Chinedu. With heavy heart, she prayed, "Lord of the fatherless, husband of widows, fight for us. They mocked me, but I look to you. Lift up this girl who has chosen me over riches. Bless her husband-to-be, bless her children, that she may shine brighter than all who despised her." Ifunanya whispered a trembling amen. And in that small room, unseen by men, heaven began to move. 12 months after Chief Benko's death, the mourning period came to an end. The mourning clothes were taken off. Chinelo's provisions shop gradually began to grow. And Ifunanya, now blossoming into a striking young woman, stood supporting her in the shop. Suddenly the shop expanded to a standard grocery shop. Ifunanya worked tirelessly arranging goods in the shelves. They later moved into a 2-room moderate clean apartment and they bounced back to life. One day a well-built handsome young man in his late 20s walked into Chinelo's shop wearing a simple white shirt and black trousers. He greeted politely, "Good afternoon." Ifunanya looked up and smiled. "Good afternoon, sir. How may I help you?" "I am still checking," he said, his voice deep but gentle. As their eyes met, something passed between them, an unspoken recognition, as though destiny itself had whispered their names. Instead of walking away, his gaze lingered a little. "How long have you been employed to work here?" he asked kindly. Ifunanya smiled faintly. "For long. The shop is owned by my mother." His expression softened. He nodded, clearly impressed by the love in her tone. "My name is Azuka," he said. "And you?" "Ifunanya," she replied. Azuka smiled. "It is a beautiful name for a beautiful person." Ifunanya's eyes twinkled knowingly. From that day, Azuka became a frequent visitor to the shop. Sometimes he came to buy something small, soap, or even just matches, but Chinelo noticed it was not the goods that brought him back, but the presence of her stepdaughter. It wasn't long before Azuka opened up to Ifunanya. He explained that he was a graduate still searching for job but temporarily working as mechanic assistant at a workshop not far from the shop. He said that his parents were farmers in the village, and though he came from humble beginnings, he was determined to build a better future. Ifunanya listened carefully, then nodded. "Character is better than riches. If you continue this way, God will bless the work of your hands." Weeks turned into months, and the bond between Ifunanya and Azuka deepened. They would sit outside the shop, talking about dreams and plans. "Ifunanya," Azuka called one evening, "I may not have riches now, but I promise you this, I will never let you suffer. With these hands, I will build a life worthy of you." Ifunanya's eyes glistened with emotion. I don't care about riches, Azuka. I only want love, respect, and peace. Those are things money cannot buy. But news travels fast. Before long, Nkechi and Chucks heard about Ifunanya's relationship with a poor mechanic apprentice. What? Nkechi questioned when the gossip reached her ears. Our sister, the daughter of Chief Benko, reduced to following a common mechanic? Chucks added. Can you blame her? She chose that poverty-stricken stepmother over us. Let her wallow in shame. Imagine. The daughter of a wealthy man begging love from a roadside repair boy. At one point, Nkechi confronted her on the road. Ifunanya, she sneered, so this is your level now? From the mansion to chasing after grease-stained apprentices? To Fiakwa. You are a disgrace to this family. Ifunanya frowned, but she stood firm. Sister Nkechi, I would rather be with someone who loves me sincerely than with a man who despises me because of wealth. Nkechi stormed off in fury. That evening, Azuka found Ifunanya sitting unhappy outside the shop. He sat beside her and said, Don't let their words break you, he said firmly. I know where I am coming from, and I know where I am going. One day, those who mock us will bow their heads in regret. Ifunanya sniffed, looking into his determined eyes. Do you really believe that? I believe it with all my heart. And I promise you this, no matter what they say, I will never leave your side, Ifunanya. Then I will walk with you, Azuka, even if the whole world turns against us. Inside Chief Benko's mansion, Nkechi and Chucks were seated in the large living room, sipping red wine. Yet beneath that, anger simmered. I still can't believe Ifunanya has the guts to disgrace this family like this, Nkechi spat. Chucks leaned towards her. Disgrace. Sister, she is worse than that. Imagine. Our father's daughter falling in love with a mechanic apprentice. People are laughing at us already. Nkechi's face twisted with bitterness. We must end that relationship before it grows. If we allow it, she will marry him. I cannot stand the thought of that. Chucks responded. Leave it to me. I have an idea that will scatter their so-called love once and for all. One day, two young men waited until Ifunanya was passing by and they pretended to be joking about Azuka. Ah, that mechanic boy. He is enjoying. Oh. Did you not see him last night with that girl from coal camp? I heard he wants to marry her, one of them said loudly, making sure Ifunanya heard it. Ifunanya forced a smile, but her heart sank. The boys laughed, but the damage was done. That evening, when Azuka came to see her, instead of her usual smile, her eyes were sharp with suspicion. Azuka, she said quietly, tell me the truth. Is there another woman? He blinked, shocked. What? Another woman? Ifunanya, you are the only one in my life. Who told you such lies? Does it matter? Please go to your coal camp woman you want to marry and leave me alone, she said and left. That night, Chinelo found Ifunanya in a sad mood. My daughter, she said gently, what happened? Between sobs, Ifunanya explained everything. Chinelo sighed deeply. Ifunanya, you have made a mistake. I think that your siblings are the ones behind this. Do not let your anger scare away a good man like Azuka from you. But mummy, I cannot take the shame. If there is even a chance that he is lying. My daughter, love is always tested. But remember this, truth does not die. If that boy is innocent, God himself will vindicate him. Chinelo said. On the other side of town, Azuka sat alone in his small room, deeply thinking. How can she believe them over me? He whispered bitterly. I gave her my heart. I gave her my word. And now she believed their lies. But I will not give up. I will prove my love. His resolve was firm, but his heart bled with pain. The next day he reassured her that his heart beats only for her, and after much pleading, they reconciled and their love blossomed once again. Meanwhile, inside the once glorious mansion of Chief Benko, Nkechi stormed into the living room and sat down. Chucks, where is the money from the last land we sold? I asked you to keep it safe. Chucks, sprawled on a couch, safe? Sister, I used part of it to upgrade my car. You saw the car outside, right? The latest Benz. Do you expect me to still drive that old car when we are this rich? Nkechi's jaw dropped. Are you insane? Do you know how much you spent? That money was supposed to last us for months. Relax, sister. When this one finishes, we will sell another plot. Papa left plenty of land. Money will never finish. But even as he spoke, Nkechi felt a pang of fear. For the first time, she realized that their wealth was not endless. Not long after, their uncle, Elder Okari, paid them a visit. He was a tall, stern man with streaks of grey in his hair. My children, he began solemnly, sitting on the edge of the couch. I have heard disturbing things. People say you are selling your father's lands and wasting the money. Is it true? Nkechi shifted uncomfortably. Uncle, don't listen to gossip. We are managing everything well. Elder Okari's eyes hardened. Managing? You are squandering. Your father worked for 40 years to build this estate, and in less than 2 years you are destroying it. Be warned, money can fly like a bird. If you don't change, you will end in shame. But Chuck's oblivion of the reality on ground, responded. Uncle, I beg. This is 21st century. Who suffers to make money when you can just sell land? Don't worry, we know what we are doing. Elder Okari shook his head in disbelief and rose to leave. Stubborn goats learn only when the cane lands on their back. His words fell on deaf ears. Weeks turned to months. One by one, the lands were sold. The cars were all gone. The friends who used to flood the house disappeared, because the food was no longer plentiful. There was barely anything left. But sister, we had millions, Chuck said. Where are they now? Nkechi wailed. Your cars, your gambling, your endless drinking, Chucks. We are finished. For the first time, Chucks felt the cold hand of reality grip his heart. While Nkechi and Chucks were sinking, Ifunanya and her stepmother were slowly rising. Their provision shop expanded and was doing very well. People admired Chinelo's honesty and Ifunanya's humility. One afternoon, the elders gathered at Chief Benko's mansion. The matter of Chief Benko's wasted inheritance had reached their ears, and now Nkechi and Chucks had been summoned. Whispers filled the air. Those children have ruined their father's name. Ah, if only their stepmother had remained in that house, things would be different. Yes, Chinelo was the one who held that home together. When Nkechi and Chucks came in, their arrogance was gone. They no longer have constant glow of pride. They sat quietly, avoiding the sharp stares of the elders. Elder Okari stood first. His voice was deep, carrying the weight of age and wisdom. Nkechi, Chucks, do you know why we called you here? Yes, uncle, Nkechi murmured. Your father, my brother, was a great man. He worked with his sweat and blood to provide for this family. But instead of building on his labor, you sold his lands and wasted the money on parties, alcohol, and reckless living. Is this the legacy you want for his name? Another elder added sharply. Even the birds of the sky have built more nests than you. Now look at you, broke, mocked, and ashamed. Elder Okari continued, and where is Chinelo, the woman your father married before he died? You drove her out with lies and wickedness. Yet everyone can see she has raised Ifunanya and Chinedu with dignity, even in poverty. She did not sell herself. She did not squander. Instead, she has built a name of honor in this town. People speak well of her. Nkechi's face burned with shame for the first time, as she rested her chin on her hand. At that very moment, Ifunanya walked in with Chinelo. She carried herself with quiet grace, her eyes calm but strong. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Ah, see her. That's Ifunanya. She looks like her mother, God bless her. Indeed, a child who has chosen the right path. Ifunanya greeted the elders respectfully and stood beside her stepmother. While Nkechi and Chucks looked worn out and defeated. One of the elders said, Children, behold the difference between wisdom and foolishness. The one you cast away has found honor, while you who clung to wealth have found disgrace. Chinelo smiled and whispered, To God be the glory. As if destiny had planned it, a group of young men also appeared. They asked for audience from one of the elders and revealed boldly, Elder, there has been talk that Azuka was deceiving Ifunanya with another woman. We were paid by Chucks to spread the lie to Ifunanya's hearing. It was only a plot to destroy their love. Please forgive us. All eyes turned to Nkechi and Chucks. So you not only wasted your father's wealth, Elder Okari thundered, you also lied against an innocent man to break true love? Nkechi and Chucks kept their heads down, unable to answer. The elders conferred among themselves, then gave their judgment. From today, Elder Okari declared, Nkechi and Chucks are stripped of any authority over their father's remaining properties. What little is left will be managed by the family council until Chinedu, the second son, is old enough to take over. As for Chinelo, we the elders restore her honor. She may have been cast out by lies, but today she stands vindicated. The crowd erupted in applause. Then suddenly, a sound cut through the air, the deep rumble of engines. Everyone turned toward the entrance of the compound. To their amazement, a number of sleek, expensive cars rolled in, their polished bodies gleaming under the sun. Gasps filled the air. Who could this be? As the cars came to a stop, a handsome young man stepped out. And to the surprise of many, it was Azuka, no longer in his simple greasy clothes, but in a sharp, tailored designer suit. His shoes shone, his wrist carried a golden timepiece, and his presence was commanding. He looked every bit the man of stature and wealth. He sat with the elders explaining his reason of being there. With a steady voice, he spoke. My elders and all that gathered here, I owe you the truth. I am not the poor man many of you thought I was. I returned from Lagos, not as a mechanic, but as a man who has labored and prospered. Yet, I came quietly, hiding my wealth, because I was searching for one thing money cannot buy: a good wife, a woman who would love unconditionally. Nkechi and Chuck's jaws dropped in disbelief. This cannot be Azuka, Chuck stammered. It is him, murmured Nkechi, see how he shines like one who owns cities. He stood and turned his gaze towards Ifunanya and Chinelo. And I found her. Ifunanya stood by me when I was mocked and despised. She chose me, not my pocket. She chose my heart. Ifunanya could not believe her eyes as he moved closer to her. But the shame on Chuck's and Nkechi's faces was too heavy to hide. They had ridiculed him, mocked his poverty, and tried to tear apart his love. Now the truth had silenced them. Today, I make it clear before this family. I seek Ifunanya's hand, and together, we will return to Lagos. He affectionately hugged her. But not just the two of us, her mother, Chinelo, and her brother Chinedu will come with us. He added. For any woman who raises another woman's children with such love deserves to eat the fruit of her labor. The crowd erupted in cheers. Women ululated, men nodded in approval. Ashamed and broken, Chucks and Nkechi fell to their knees and pleaded for forgiveness. Chinelo instantly forgave them and they happily hugged her. I forgive my children. I believe you have learned from your mistakes, she said. After that, Chinelo whispered to Azuka to also forgive Chucks and Nkechi, and he agreed. And to everyone's surprise, Azuka, through Chinelo's pleading, decided not just to forgive them but was ready to help them bounce back to their feet. Though you mocked me, though you lied against me, I will not repay evil with evil, he said. Because the woman who is now my mother-in-law has taught me that forgiveness heals deeper than revenge. I will establish both of you. We are family now. With trembling lips, Chucks and Nkechi realized too late the emptiness of pride. And so, the family was restored not by wealth, not by force, but by the quiet strength of love, patience, and forgiveness. Kindness and humility outlive pride, and forgiveness is the crown that restores broken families. Ifunanya clutched her stepmother's hand. Mummy, God has answered our prayers. Chinelo whispered back, yes, my child. And remember this, the heart that loves truly, the hands that give without fear, and the soul that prays with faith, they are never forsaken. Goodness always triumphs. From betrayal rose patience, from pain grew love, and from injustice came swift, thunderous justice. In the end, the righteous shine, and the wicked fall. This is the way of life, of faith, and of the heart that never gives up. If you were Chinelo, would you have forgiven so easily? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Remain blessed.